In conversation with Canadian recording artist and Pembroke native Jason Blaine, who now lives in Hendersonville, Tennessee, just outside Nashville. This has been a difficult week, Jason. You've had a wonderful hometown charity, a concert and golf tournament for the past several years, and you had to make the tough decision, one that was necessary, to cancel the event. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on the program, Jamie. It's good to see you. Yeah, man, absolutely. This has just been a drag. Like, what can you say? You know, all of these fantastic events from all of the sports to the Junos to concerts to award shows, and now our event. It's just a huge drag. You know, so much. You know, I don't have to tell you. You know, you've been a part of it since day one. How much work goes into these things, months and months of planning, everybody involved. So it's just a bummer. It's a big bummer, you know. But it is what it is in this situation. Everybody's got to kind of follow the rules of and the mandates from the local governments to the provincials, to the federal governments, to not gather in groups. So you know, it's kind of out of our hands on a lot of levels.
You know, when the committee was talking about this just before the pandemic really took hold in North America, I don't think you or anyone around the table that day expected we would get to the point that we're at now.
I really didn't. I mean, when it was brought up in our meeting, I guess this would have been at the very top of March. You know, if there's something we need to look at, and we talked about, well, you know, at our next meeting in a couple of weeks. And boy, what a difference just 2 weeks meant. You know, you went from not even really considering that things in June would be in question to 2 weeks make all the difference. You're talking, you know, a border. You know, the North American Canadian U.S. border. I mean, that's got to be historical. That's got to be unprecedented. I'm not sure that there's ever been a time in history that border has been closed. I can't. I don't think it's ever been closed. Maybe you can tell me, but that's, you know, things like that. I mean, we're talking, that's unprecedented, and that was just in a matter of 2 weeks difference. So, yeah, you know, but the silver lining in all this is we've had already, since the announcement today about the cancellation. You know, we've had sponsors reach out. We've had so many people post on the social media in response to the announcement and said, hey, you know, it was, you know, obviously the right decision. You know, we're pulling for you guys, and we'll see you in 2021. That means the world to us, you know.
You know, it's been a great event. It's raised more than $500,000, all money that goes right back into Renfrew County, you know, the area that you grew up in. Last year was a record, $125,000 in 1 year. So you've been on this trajectory where there's been so much momentum. You know, again, that has to be a tough pill to swallow, because you had another great lineup set up for this year.
Yeah, once again, it would have been Aaron Pritchett's third time to come back. Like, he, you know, people just love him in the Valley, and he's always such a blast and such a fun guy and a good buddy. He's been a friend to our event, and so he was stoked to come back with his latest hit songs. And this year we would have had the two-time reigning female artist of the year, Canadian artist of the year, Jessica Moskalew, who's been setting records only achieved since Shania Twain in terms of platinum album sales and everything else, and not just, and that's not to mention she's just a really cool chick too, and loves to get out on the golf course and have some fun. Everybody would have loved her, but she commented on my Instagram page today and said, "Hey, you know, we'll see you in 2021." You know, so that's encouraging. You know, and we would have also had our friends the Rivertown Saints back again, and you know, I would have been coming back home with some new music, and including a song from my new upcoming EP called "Home for the Summer" that I love so much. Nobody's heard it yet. It's on the new EP, but it was a song that I was very much looking forward to debuting in June.
You know, this pandemic has affected the world, and it's affected people in all sorts of sectors, including the entertainment industry. And you're in that. You're in the heart of country music in the world, Nashville, Tennessee. It's obviously had an impact on you. It's had an impact on your fellow artists as well. Talk a little bit about that.
You know, it's more than people think. Like it's a way bigger deal than people even realize, because I think that when people, I don't often know what the general public thinks about the music industry, but I have a sense that when people think of the music industry, they can only really off the top of their head think of like less than 1% of the music industry. You names like Taylor Swift come to mind, or Garth Brooks, or Shania Twain, or Justin Timberlake, or Justin Bieber, or whatever the top 10 biggest stars of at the moment, Ed Sheeran or somebody, or whoever you see on the award shows, right? You think, and you think, oh, well, they're millionaires, they're going to be fine if there's no concerts or whatever. But man, oh man, that is like less than 1%. I wouldn't even. It's like a Bernie Sanders, less than 1/10 of 1%. It's one of those things, because you're talking. I'm thinking about all my friends, my musicians, artists that do gigs, that play with me. Sometimes they play with multiple artists. You're talking people that do sound, front of house sound, lighting, monitors, guitar techs, truck drivers, the crew, all the stage hands, all the way to merch people and tour managers, road managers, just production managers, like every single thing, right? That you don't think about, all these folks, and they're not most of these folks, they're not millionaires. I mean, they're it's just like lose anybody else in any other industry, whether you have gosh, I don't know, some sort of corner store or whatever, in a small town or anything like that. And they're counting on the next, 2, 3, 4 months worth of income. And in our industry, and especially in Canada, the summertime that's farmers know it as hay season, right? That's where all of the festivals happen. And a lot of people make their income for the rest of the year in the 3 or 4 months that is the sunshine summer months. So this is huge for the entertainment industry across all genres. We're talking country, rock, folk, blues, everything.
In your case, I know that you were lined up, Boots and Hearts, for example, and some other big concerts that were happening this summer. Now, I know there hasn't been announcements made on some of those things, but I'm sure you and your fellow artists are all paying very close attention to what those decisions will be.
Yeah, definitely. It's everybody's starting to put some contingencies in place. That would be, that would just be really devastating. I know that there's already been like some major festivals in the U.S., Stagecoach and things like that, things that happened sooner in the year. We're talking, some of them were in June, so that those are gone. Some of them in July. Quebec has scrapped a brand new country festival and their big Quebec City festival, multi-genre festival. And I think the Quebec has said that they're shut down for the whole summer. Like you said, there hasn't been those announcements about Boots and Hearts yet. I think last I heard is like they're still in a watch and see and hope and pray, because there's so much of everything on the line. There's hopes and dreams on the line of everybody that hasn't played that stage yet. I'm very lucky. I've played it through 3 years already. This would be my 4th return back to that stage, which is a fantastic festival, fantastic stage. And there's so much. I couldn't imagine the money that's on the line, or the deposits that have been made to major headlining artists and vendors and everything else. I don't even honestly know like how that all gets sorted out. But they put, what do they put through there? I mean, there could be 40 or 50,000 people a night at that festival. So like, and it took years and years like to build that up to what it is today. So anytime anything like that has to get scrapped, like it's a big deal. Like it's a really big deal. So I'm sure that they're all going, hopefully, like if there's any chance that they can, save it or something, then I'm sure that they will. But ultimately, I think it's going to come down to it might just be as matter of fact of if the government says no public gatherings until such and such a date, then it is what it is.
Jason, you're a Canadian who's been living in the United States for a number of years. I'm sure you're kind of watching how the two countries are dealing with the pandemic. What's life like for you and your family? You have four young children and a wife, Amy,
Yeah.
living in Nashville.
It's been probably similar to you guys, and my family back in Canada. A little different in that it hasn't been as strict. There's no I haven't heard of any. There hasn't been a forced home quarantine by law or anything like that. There's no fines being handed out in Tennessee. There's just a strong encouragement to they call it shelter in place, Tennessee, and I think a lot of people, most people are abiding by that from what I can see in the grocery stores and stuff. And there's a lot of people wearing masks and gloves and stuff. And as far as my family, we're making like maybe one trip to the grocery store a week, where with a family of four, we'd be there maybe twice a day. Sometimes it's just down the road. So, we're in and out, and just try to be cautious. Tennessee's got a pretty good, they're doing all of the things. They're doing just like, a lot of the places are like in Ontario. They're doing everything that they can as far as all the reports. They're doing a really good job of containing it. But I'm seeing posts on social media from family and then just the greater Facebook at large, and seeing crazy stories of a father getting a ticket from the police or something for playing catch in a field with his son or whatever, and like an $800 ticket, and you're just going like, what times are we living in? When it's like that's clearly social distance. I mean, if he's in a field, there's nobody around. So I've kind of got some strong opinions about some of that stuff. I think that this can get out of hand pretty quick. I think it's like a balance of everybody's got to respect these rules, and then some discretion has to be made on that level too. So I can see the difference between the way that both countries are sort of handling it, and it's certainly crazy.
From a career perspective, obviously, yeah, I'm sure you often would go down to a studio or maybe get together with colleagues, and you've done a lot of writing of songs. How has that been affected? And are you continuing to write at home, or how are you keeping yourself busy during the pandemic?
Well, we've been home now for, I think this is week 3. We were a little bit later to the shelter in place thing here in Tennessee than other states, but so I think we're on about week 3. Gosh, it's starting to, the weeks and days are starting to run together. It could be coming up on a month here, but I have not felt very creative, and I have not been writing. I've been spending time with the kids, and we've been playing out in the yard and playing board games, and my wife and I have been watching Netflix and stuff. It's hard with 4 kids. They're kind of noisy in the house all the time. I haven't had much success in the past. I've done it a few times doing a Skype write. If the connection's good, and like it is now with you and I, it's totally possible. So I've actually started booking some more co-writes. I've got one coming up next week. I think my first one, kind of back at it with my longtime collaborator Derek Rattan. His folks reached out to me and asked if we want to give this a go. And I think it's for the foreseeable future, it's going to start becoming the norm. I mean, there's a lot of people getting on Zoom or getting on Skype, and I think a lot of people have settled in that this is the new normal for a little while. We don't know how long, but it's we'll have to make do, and they'll be known as the quarantine COVID songs or something.
I see that you've been giving back in other ways through your musical talent. You've had a couple of sessions on Facebook where you've just kind of got out the guitar and an acoustic presentation. So that's your way of giving back.
Yeah, and it's been really interesting and really cool to have folks go, thank you so much. We really needed this tonight. And gosh, I needed it just as much as they did. I wasn't even hardly thinking about that it would mean that much to somebody else. But I've had a lot of messages, and people commented on. Some of them have received thousands of views, and just like hundreds and hundreds of comments. For me, it was just. I wish all of my concerts were that easy. I just go downstairs and set up a microphone and crack a bottle of wine and sing whatever songs come to mind. And no travel, no airport security. No, it's been fun. I've been taking some requests, playing some songs by my heroes. Gosh, this not all to do with this COVID thing, but just the recent passing of some of my musical heroes that you think will always be around, like Kenny Rogers. So I had requests. I played The Gambler one night and played Coward of the County. I mean, I grew up on those records, and there was not a Christmas that ever went by where my mother didn't play Kenny and Dolly's Christmas cassette. I think she still has it and still plays it every Christmas. So that was huge, to lose old Kenny Rogers. And then for me, there was another guy, Joe Diffie, that actually did pass away from this COVID-19 thing, or at least complications from it. I was surprised how emotional I was about that. I think he's honestly a little younger than my father by a couple of years. Not an old man, and was I grew up when I say I grew up on his music, the first song I ever played was at Rockwood Public School, a song called "Ships That Don't Come In," for a Remembrance Day assembly at the request of my teacher. She had heard it on the radio or something, asked me if I knew that song, and I did. So that was the first song I ever played publicly. I think it was grade 7 or grade 8 in Rockwood, and then so that was I did a little tribute to him on my Facebook Live, and people seemed to dig that, and do a little bit more of that. I might do another one next week. It's just been a cool way to stay connected with people. A singer needs a stage, even if it's a squeaky chair from home.
And a lot of people have been talking about creativity, ingenuity, these opportunities to try different things. You went out of your comfort zone at Easter and started to actually play some religious songs that you had not done previously.
Yeah. I had only done that once before. I was booked for a show in Listowel that was Listowel, Ontario, the agricultural festival, and it was an interesting deal. They asked if I would play on the Friday night concert event and then stay for Sunday and lead their Sunday morning church worship, deal from literally the rodeo stage outside for a bunch of Christian farm folk, and I thought, man, I've never done anything like that before. I always feel when it comes to that stuff, I always sort of feel like a little unworthy to be singing the songs. But my wife reminds me, she's like, don't be crazy. She's like, anybody can sing these songs, and you can certainly sing them. I don't know where that comes from. I think it's just my own. I'm such a 1 foot in Friday night or Saturday night, one foot in Sunday morning guy, But I love those songs, so I gathered up some songs for Easter Sunday. I just felt compelled to sing some they call them CCM, contemporary Christian music, some songs that we would hear at the church that we attend here in Hendersonville. It's known as a Southern Baptist church, but no two are alike. Southern Baptists will tell you it's certainly not like Wendy's or McDonald's. When you walk into one, you never know what you're going to get at these different churches. But at ours specifically, they have an incredible band. And for the last 7 years, the lead singer of one of the guys that sang is a guy named Jordan Reynolds, and he was there almost every Sunday morning for the past 7 years, and just a tremendous singer. Turns out Jordan is also a staff songwriter in Nashville for Warner Chappell, We connected a few years ago, and about a year ago, we wrote a song that's on my new EP called "Hell of a Band in Heaven." And Jordan has just been rising as a songwriter. And he wrote in the past year. He wrote this song "When I Taste Tequila" for Dan and Shay, or with Dan and Shay, "Speechless," and this monster song with Justin Bieber and Dan and Shay, "10,000 Hours." All that to say, if you heard this guy sing, and so there's this other song that I sang on Sunday. It's a song called "God Only Knows" by King and Country. And it won, and they also went on to do a duet version of that with Dolly Parton and win like 2 Grammys this past year. Jordan wrote that too. We heard him do it live one Sunday. Just blew me away. So that was one of the songs that I thought I'd do, because the thread of the sort of contemporary Christian music and modern country music are very similar, actually. It's just different words.
Just a few more minutes, Jason. You've been, as I said off the top, through your charity, very, very generous with local causes. You've supported Algonquin College as an alumnus of the Pembroke campus, through the bricks and mortar of the new campus a few years ago, and then a bursary that you've set up. The Boys and Girls Club has been close to your heart. The Phoenix Center, which arguably is needed more now than ever.
Yeah.
You won't be able to hand out those checks this year like you have in the past. But you're still trying to make a difference in other ways. So just some closing thoughts on just that reality this year.
It's heavy for me, because it's become such an important thing, something I look forward to every year, so a way that we can give back. And I've actually personally made a lot of the phone calls to these organizations to let them know that they're receiving some money from us. And so I've heard their voices on the other end of the line, and how much it means to them and how helpful it is. So yeah, it's super, emotional to know that like we're not able to do that this year, at least not on the level, or maybe not at all that we certainly have in the past 6 years. But if there's any chance that we can do something smaller, we're going to look at that. In the fall, or maybe something. Maybe there's a Christmas something event. If there's any chance, it's all up in the air right now. But if there's something that we can do, we'll try to do it. But if not, surely, to goodness, we'll be back in 2021, and we'll try to just blow it out, make it bigger and better than ever, and make up for a lost year.
And the dates are already set for that, June 22nd and 23rd, and hopefully we'll be through this and we'll be able to celebrate again together for sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
I just have to say, are you going to tease us? You've got that guitar sitting on your lap. Are you going to end this with at least a few strums or anything?
Sure.
At this point, go ahead.
I'll play a little bit of this. This is a song that I was going to play. It's a song from the new EP. I'll just play a little bit of it. And I'm going to do it much, much lower than it is on the record so I can sing. It goes, white lines flying on the home stretch. Soon as I drive by that welcome sign, I don't need no map. I know this town like the back of my hand. Speed limit sign says 55 and I'm going too fast. It's where I learned to drink. It's where I learned to drive, and how not to do both at the same time. Catching up with friends, have a couple laughs. Nice to see you, hey man, yeah, it's good to be back home for the summer. Running those red lights, flashing at midnight right off the highway. Holding like thunder in a circle of headlights. Same old spot, everybody knows, everybody goes home for the summer. Home for the summer, yeah, home for the summer.
I think you've got something there, Jason. That's a great song.
Thanks, man. It's a special one on the record, and can't wait for everybody to hear it. I guess it's going to come out in June now, but we're going to have an advanced release actually on April 24th of the Hell of a Band in Heaven I was telling you about. So I'm really excited about that. The new single, the current single, Drink Too Much, is out. Some radio stations around the area are playing it. It's out on Spotify. And can't wait for everybody to hear as we sort of roll this EP out. I've been playing these songs on some of my social media. We're going to be talking about them a lot more. So everybody follow me along at Jason Blaine Official on Instagram is the best way.
Well, Jason, music is good for the soul. It's certainly good therapy as we go through an extraordinary lifetime event, a pandemic. So thank you for the gift of music.
My pleasure, man. Thank you so much, Jamie. You and your family take care up there, and we'll hope to see you soon.
You as well. Jason Blaine, Canadian recording artist, now living in Hendersonville, Nashville, just outside Nashville, Tennessee, and continuing to give back to his hometown as we deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on In Conversation With. In a circle of headlights, same old spot, everybody knows.